Well, between the assassination of the Russian ambassador to Turkey, to shots fired outside the U.S. embassy there after that, and then, of course, the deadly truck crash that happened in Berlin, Germany at a popular market, all of this with just days to go before the holidays, of course, a lot of people here in the U.S. are wondering, are we still safe, and how does this affect us? Well, joining me this morning to weigh in is national security analyst Lew Nescott, who was just here a couple of days ago, and I said, we'd love to have you back again, but of course, not under these pretenses.
Good to see you.
It is good to see you. Okay, why don't we start with Berlin? Why is an attack like that so concerning, Lew?
Because it's part of the attack cycle of ISIS, or Daesh, which is the derogatory term that I use to describe them. There were so many fighters that have been transiting over the last 3 to 4 years from Europe, UK, France, and now certainly Germany, that it's almost inevitable you could expect an attack like this, particularly during the holiday season, and open markets, which are soft targets. Footnote to all of this, the German authorities, after the Nice attack in France, which used a truck, which is a cheaper way from ISIS' point of view to kill a lot of people, anticipated a similar attack.
Okay, and so it was just essentially a matter of time and a matter of where.
Prophecy fulfilled.
Yeah. Is it too early at this point to say, well, maybe this was ISIS as opposed to some other?
I don't think so. I think this is has their fingerprints all over.
Okay. Yeah, that would make sense. What about the climate in Berlin there over the holidays?
I mean, I think before this segment I was chatting with you, I had just got back from Paris, went there for some R&R. And, the climate, and certainly Parisians are feeling a little bit, if you will, under the gun, and they're very security conscious. But at this point, I think the climate is that people will press on. They'll grieve, they'll mourn. I suspect this will make Merkel's job a bit more difficult in terms of trying to preserve her coalition and have a common sense policy regarding immigration. But nevertheless, people will press on, though it will certainly cause, I think, an increased security, as we've even seen here in this country, in major cities, New York, Chicago, and so forth.
Yeah, speaking of, what do you make of that?
I think that's makes perfect sense. We're looking at soft targets. So if you look for soft targets, and if you look for soft targets at a time, particularly during holiday time, open air markets, public squares, make perfect sense. They're soft, and again, soft targets, you can inflict a lot of casualties.
Yeah, I know it's been said, and it's not the same thing, but maybe with the rashes of school shootings, that they do tend to happen in rashes, as if there's copycats. Do you suspect there's the same phenomenon going on with these attacks, whereby if one just happened in Berlin, it's more likely to happen somewhere else soon?
Well, think about it. I mean, ISIL or ISIS or Daesh, they're losing territory in Iraq. They're losing territory in Syria. From my point of view, it makes perfect sense that they would action those cells they control to hit soft targets with a mass casualty scenario at holiday time.
Yes.
It makes perfect sense, or at very least inspire lone wolf attacks. Again, those two factors, losing terrain but still demonstrating that they can inflict great pain across the globe, makes perfect sense in their mind.
All right, let's move on to Russia, the assassination there of the Russian ambassador to Turkey. So far, we have had both Russia and Turkey, at least publicly, saying they're working together to figure out who's doing this. How much should we take them at their word?
Well, I think we should take them at their word, because I think that Russia, at least, wants to play both sides of the fence in the game of diplomacy. On the one hand, they want to support Assad and the Assad regime, which Turkey and Erdogan's government opposes. On the other hand, they want to befriend Turkey and try to drive a diplomatic wedge between the West, primarily the U.S., which has a presence there, a diplomatic and military presence in Turkey. So they're playing both sides of the fence. And I think that President Putin will do everything he can to at least preserve some kind of working relationship. I do think, however, that we may see a significant overhaul in the level of security for Russian diplomats throughout the region, especially Turkey.
Surprising to you that?
It is. I mean, if you look at the attack, or at least the preliminary reports that we have on the attack, I didn't see any Russian security, or there were no reports of Russian security. I mean, we're looking at raw images, unfiltered. But from what I could tell, I did not see Russian security personnel around their ambassador.
Well, there was somebody right behind him. We've seen pictures taken right before the shooting. You could see the shooter behind him.
You see the shooter behind, which raises the question. He was clearly vetted.
Yes.
He appears to be alone, because I could tell you, typically in a high value, an ambassador is a high value target.
Yeah.
In a soft venue, you have to take great care. And you have to protect him, because that's precisely the time, at least, when you would expect an attack. I did not see any Russian security personnel immediately, liquidating or eliminating the threat and tending to the ambassador. I mean, the shooter stood over the ambassador, what seemed to be in these raw, unfiltered images,
yes,
for perhaps an extended period of time, 10, 20, 30 seconds. Who knows? We don't have that information yet. But I did not see any kind of immediate security presence around the ambassador.
Right. We'll see if that changes. All right, Lou, thank you so much.
Take care.
Good to see you.
Happy holidays, Merry
Once
Christmas.
again, our security advisor, Lew Nescott. Thank you for coming in on short notice.
Good to be here.